Hello. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? So, this is the first podcast in the Pink Palace, Taboo Topics, and you are my first guest.
Well, thank you very much for having me. So excited to be here, young man.
Oh, would you like to say your name?
My name is Freya. It's nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you, darling. And I've met me before, but we're meeting again.
So today, or this evening, we are talking about Taboo Topics.
Yay! I'm very excited to be talking about them.
I know, we've said it for a while, haven't we, that
Yeah.
we've wanted to discuss certain things.
Yes, because it's not spoken about enough at all and needs to be, and I want there to be like more of a platform other than your kind of like traditional sort of like resources, I suppose, as opposed to a hospital or just word of mouth from people who maybe might not know or might not be comfortable talking about it.
Yep.
Whereas this could be maybe something for that, for both of, not just for both of us, but for other people who might be in the same position or who have been in a similar position or who are just terrified to talk about it.
Yeah, because there isn't, we were talking about it earlier, weren't we? There isn't, so we both went to school. Sex education is spoke about in school, but for me, it wasn't very educational at all. And I'm 27 and you're
23.
And how was your education?
It was very similar, to be honest. My experience of sex education when I was young, we didn't really get any further sex education when I went to high school, but we had it in the last year of year 6. So I don't know, I was probably like 10 or 11. I remember all the boys and girls being separated and all the boys were shown what condoms were, and then I don't really know much else because that was kind of like the talk of the playground. Oh my god, a condom, amazing.
Did you put it on the cucumber?
Is it going all right? Oh yes, lovely. And then for the girls we got shown what tampons, pads were. We weren't really shown moon cups. I don't think were a thing back then for us. We didn't really get spoken about contraception or anything like that. And then we got shown this very, very outdated, terrifying video of this poor woman giving birth, being torn open by her child. So I was like, maybe sex is bad. I don't like that.
Which is so bad, isn't it?
It's terrible. And to teach children that who are, you know, okay, at 10 years old, maybe you're not venturing into that just yet. You're inquisitive, yes, but you're not, not everyone, but I myself was not sexually active at that age, wasn't really thinking about it. Yes, okay, I had my questions, I was interested in certain things, but I wasn't venturing out. So then if that's all that you're given, and then you get to a point where you are becoming sexually active or interested in engaging in sexual activities with other people, it was a minefield, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing at all. And I don't think a lot of people knew, really. We'd speak about it with friends, but then again, just sex in general was a taboo topic, not just the possible dangers that could come out of it, and it's not even whether that's to do with any sort of like physical aspects, but emotional aspects as well. We don't get taught about how to emotionally and healthily have sexual relations with people, whether that's in a relationship or a one-time thing. And I think that there needs to be more awareness shared for that, for sure.
I totally agree. And I think going back to the whole school thing as well, like if they're putting videos in front of you that make you actually scared about having the physical action of sex, you're not then going to really go home to a family that might not be openly willing to talk to you about sex.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially if you then are watching this video and seeing it as like a negative thing, because it's not. It's sex is not a negative thing. It's something that we all do, right?
Absolutely.
And it should be a positive thing and a safe action to do.
It should be something, especially for women as well. I was taught. I mean, I was quite lucky. I grew up in an environment where sex was spoken about. My mum was open at a young age because she wanted me to be safe. But again, my mum really didn't go into sort of smaller details like STDs. You know, she would talk about maybe using a condom, or, you know, making sure that, you know, I wanted to, but there wasn't ever like a deep-rooted conversation about consent, about, you know, what kind of relationship, what kind of man, woman, person I'm supposed to be trusting with me, with my body at that time. Because sex, as much as it's enjoyable, and we all, not everyone, but a lot of people very much enjoy it, it's also the most vulnerable you can be. You know, you're open to you're sharing this situation with another person or people where you are vulnerable. You know, not only are you completely bollock naked and you can't quite run down the street like that, but at the same time you're emotionally vulnerable, you're physically vulnerable. It's something that can be actually quite scary for people if they experience trauma, or if they've experienced it for the first time. And it should be a safe space, and we as people should be educated that not only that sex is something that should be empowering and that should be encouraged by all genders, sexes, everyone, you know, but also the fact that, you know, it needs to be a safe environment for people to be going into, that we need to be educated on the emotional side of it as well, making sure that we are trusting the people that we are sharing that space with as well. Because I'm not being funny, we all know that when we trust someone, love someone, care about someone, we have that deeper rooted connection, that the sex is so much better. Always. Like, we can't deny it, because it's not even an emotional, physical, ego thing at that point, it's a feeling. And you can feel it in yourself, and when you're sharing it with that person, that it was a good experience because you were at ease and you were relaxed and you've taken all the precautions and that you're safe. And then you're more inclined to then want to do it again or share it with another person and feel confident to then have those conversations. It's at those steps, because it's nerve-wracking. Like, I myself have experienced times during sexual experiences, you know, consensual, non-consensual, that I have, you know, I've caught STDs and I didn't know anything about them, and it terrified me, and I felt very alone, and I didn't really have the resources to reach out and share these things with people. I, you know, contacted doctors, they weren't very helpful at all. It was very much blunt conversation or no sort of action for process, you know, it was just sort of, that's that, continue, you've just got to live with it sort of thing. And even if there isn't, you know, from us a quick fix, or, you know, we're not professionals, so we won't be able to sort of go, right, this is what you need to do, but it's more about having a safe space to openly talk about it, talk about your worries, your stresses, you know, not to feel alone with it, because it's very normal and it is also very scary. And I don't want anyone to feel like I felt, because it really did traumatise me, and I'm still dealing with it now. It's something that I will continuously deal with, and the trauma behind catching certain things, for me, it will always be a worry and a stress now, because of the uneducated sort of lead up to experiencing it and having to find things out on my own.
So, one, I'm so sorry that you've had to go through these things. Obviously, I know you on a personal level, and we've talked about this anyway, so you know all my love is towards you.
Thank you.
And I think you're such a strong person with how you've dealt with these situations, and I think it's so brave that you want to help people through what you've gone through, and you're willing to sit with me today and talk about, like, STIs and, you know, what we can do to support other people. So, you, going back on what you said, you've touched on a minute ago, you said everything that's led to this point, which made me feel like you feel as though you just weren't educated enough.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time, what do you wish you were taught that would help you within your adult life?
I think, first of all, in the education system, there needs to be a lot more resources. It needs to be updated, because I feel that it's very outdated, the you know, the resources that we have in schools now, and actually that's when young people are finding their sexuality for the first time. It's when we're at school, when we're young teenagers, we've got all those crazy hormones running around our bodies. That's when we're most inquisitive, and it's also when we're most uneducated. We've not 9 times out of 10, none of us have had sex yet. 9 times out of 10, none of us have touched ourselves yet, or if we have, we don't really know what we're doing. It's like, oh, that feels nice. Oh, yeah, lovely. But, you know, we don't really know what we're doing. So that's the crucial time to educate young people and give them the resources that they need, give them the numbers that they need, educate them about the STDs, tell them where they can go and get condoms. Because at the end of the day, if you tell children not to have sex, they want to have sex, they're going to do it anyway, but they're just going to do it in an unsafe way. And I don't think that is, you know, it's not helpful for anyone on either part, you know. And I think as a parent, I think there needs to be more conversations and perhaps maybe more resources for parents to learn to feel more comfortable, teach them how to have those conversations, because it's not just about in the school place, in the school place, workplace, school place,
in the
school, in the place of learning. education. Stay in school and don't do drugs. Not yes anyway. But yeah, I think there needs to be more for parents as well, because it's all well and good educating children at the crucial age that they need to learn it, but it's also about feeling comfortable in your home life, being able to talk to your parents, because they are the people that you go home to. They're the people that we hope that you are close enough to have those conversations with. But also, half the reason why we wanted to start this podcast is because if you don't have those resources, if you don't have people at home, friends, family, school, college, uni, wherever you are, if you don't have that, this can be a safe space to perhaps have those conversations and just air out the worry more than anything, because sometimes it feels good just to say it and get it off your chest and share it with other people, because the problem, as much as it's cringy to say, a problem shared is a problem halved, because you get it off your chest and you almost sometimes get the validation that you need from someone else. And a lot of the time, especially someone who suffers with so much anxiety, myself, you're already most likely thinking the right thing anyway. You just need someone else to say it and reiterate it to you.
You're not alone.
Yeah, no, you're not.
You're not.
You're
like,
so not alone.
Really not alone. And I think, going back to what you said about the parents, I think that's such a great point to make, because, you know, our parents are a different generation. Like, you know, like I said, I'm 27, but my mum and dad are like in their 60s, right? My dad's from Iran, so it's a completely different culture as well.
Yeah.
And my parents have been great, you know, growing up, and mum especially always spoke to me from a young age about, you know, being safe and protecting yourself, and you only do things when you want to do something, and consent and everything like that. She was great, but it's still they were from a different time. Like, their education's going to be different, and if people are coming from families where, like you said, where they don't feel comfortable talking about sex, or they're not very educated about it themselves for no fault of their own, there should be a space where they, you know, the schools maybe get them in and teach them, like you said, how to actually talk about, communicate, which
it's
is
a
I
language that's important.
Yeah,
for sure,
because
sorry.
No, you go, my
You can't try to dance with me like such a good woman. For good name.
Sip on the old tea.
It's a bit warm in here, like. Oh, lovely.
It's my heating, it's good, isn't it?
It's lovely. It's better than my house. I can't remember what I was saying now. Where have we gone?
I was saying about parents and education for them.
Yeah, I just think it's important to educate, not just about helping parents becoming comfortable to have that conversation, because I can understand how it is a bit uncomfortable to have that, you know. It's not
100%.
It's not always going to be the easiest conversation to have, but it is a conversation that needs to be had, for sure. It's not one that can just be pushed to the side and not had. You can't expect to bring a young person into the world who it's your responsibility to teach them the ways of the world, and leave that out.
Yeah.
Because it's very important. And then, you know, what happens when your child comes home and for whatever reason they may have fallen pregnant or got someone else pregnant by accident, you know, and then
or caught chlamydia.
Yeah, or caught something, or, you know, or had a really bad sexual experience and didn't know how to deal with it, didn't know who to contact, you know, and it's all of those things, okay, might not be avoided, but if their education is there, then they will have the knowledge about it if you're ever in that situation. And it takes away the anxiety, and also it spreads awareness, because if you're educating your children and, you know, putting things in place, opening up resources for the children, the parents and everything, if there are then more people out there who still don't have that, children talk, parents talk, those things will be shared eventually in one way or another, word of mouth. We all know how that works and how quick that works. So, you know, if there are those resources for someone somewhere, then it can be shared on. And you know, I think in a way like this as well, it's a really nice, easy, gentle, stress-free way to speak about it, because as soon as you start introducing, you know, the hospital or the clinics, there's all this pressure to go to an appointment, speak to a healthcare professional, speak to someone that you don't know, who is a stranger, who may not be relatable, who may not even be the same sort of age as you. You know, I've had a lot of experiences where I've gone into clinics before to query something, or just to ask someone about something, or I've caught something myself and I've had to go and get that treated. And 9 times out of 10, I think I've only ever had one good experience in there when I had my coil fit, and the doctor was amazing. He was really lovely. But all of the other times related to STDs or getting contraception, or just having a genuine query about sexual health in general, I've been met with, and again, it's not an ageist thing, but it's just about my experience, 9 times out of 10 they have been older, very judgmental. And actually I've had someone laugh at my face before because they ask for a body count sometimes, in like sort of in the last year or 6 months, how many partners have you had, so that they can sort of correlate, you know, your exposure, I suppose. And I had an older lady laugh at me because of the number that I gave to her. And to be honest, it's not that bad. Like, not that any number is bad or good or sideways, red, orange, green, whatever you want. You know, there is no good or bad. But it made me think bad immediately because she had a negative reaction. And that isn't, you know, people who are supposed to be working in an environment for people who are going to be scared, who are uneducated, who need your help. That is not the appropriate reaction to have. And I love that we're doing this now together and opening up another route for people to help, another safe space that will be relatable, that is a completely judge-free zone, you know, and nothing that would be said, nothing that will be screamed, cried, you know, spoken about, questioned, will ever be wrong or judged or looked at in any sort of way.
Definitely, like 100%. Like, this is a definite safe space. Like, that's what we want. Obviously, like you've said, we aren't healthcare professionals at all. Like, we've just had our own experiences. But if we do get any questions sent, then we can personally go and ask healthcare professionals and post them if people are too worried to have to write them or go in themselves. But it's funny because when I've had to go into clinics and go and get tested, I've not had a bad experience. So, which is good. But I'm sad that you've had bad experiences. But I don't want listeners to feel like they shouldn't go to the clinic. No,
absolutely not. It's the best place to go because the professionals are lying within there.
Yeah.
But if you do have a bad experience, don't take it to heart. Remember that it could be just that person having a bad day. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's okay to treat people that way, because it's absolutely not the case. But it's never going to be your experience that is wrong, or what you have done, seen, got, caught, that is wrong. You know, go to them, speak to them as much as you can, persist until you get what you need, but know that if you do have a really bad experience, that you can come home, send us a message, and know that you're going to be validated and you're taken care of.
And you can speak to them about that as well, because you've gone through that. And I think as well, just as a side note, and this is in any situation in life, but if you do go somewhere, for example, because we're talking about STIs, I will say the clinic, but if you do go to the clinic and you're met with a reaction that doesn't feel right to you, you're so entitled to turn around to that person and say, you're actually making me feel really uncomfortable right now.
Absolutely.
And that might seem a bit scary. Some of the listeners are probably like, oh, I could never say that.
Oh my goodness,
but that's like a moment of growth in itself, and maybe that person doesn't realise how they're being.
It takes a lot of courage to speak up, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong to do so. And if it helps, think of us while you're doing it. You can, I don't know, feel our energy and our strength behind you. Know that we're there afterwards. If you want to just send us a message in and say, oh, I had such an awful experience with this person, and this and this and this happened, vent to us, tell us everything if it makes you feel better. But yeah, like Yaz said, don't let that stop you from going in, because it is important to stay up to date. And again, like we said, we're not professionals, and we are here as an ear and a safe space, and we'll answer as many questions as we can, but we can't actually give any sort of treatments and professional opinions in that sense. So it's important to use that resource as well, if that is your option.
100%. And also, as another note, you can order tests at home, can't you now?
Absolutely.
And they're free.
Yeah.
So that's really, I just think that's so amazing, because the packages come with just your name on. There's no details about what's in the package. So if you're actually at home and you don't want a family member or a housemate or anybody to know what you've actually ordered, it's discreet. It's perfect. So that you can go online, type on Google sexual health kit, and when I had a look on there, and I've ordered them as well before, you can choose whether you want HIV to be tested or not. But it's all so simple and so easy,
quick as well.
So quick, isn't it? And then they send you the results within like a week, which I think so incredible that you can do that now. And like I said, it's free as well. So
you don't have to pay for postage either. It's 100% free. You literally just put your address in, and then it gets sent within 2 days. And also, once you've done all of the tests and stuff and sent them off, they're also very quick in sending you back the results, and you get it through, I think you get it through a text, don't you?
You can. So I think you can choose how you want it. I think
there are options of how you can receive the information, again, to keep your your identity and your information completely discreet, and it's very private. I think the website I found was SH24. That was the one I used. But I think there's multiple. I think there's a couple of options that you can choose, and they do have a mobile number on there as well. So if you are stuck and you're not really sure about what options to choose, you're unsure of your symptoms and things like that, there are a couple of numbers on there where you can speak to a professional and they will guide you through it.
And I think that's so important, because a lot of people do get really anxious about even, going out to a public place. So don't put yourself in, I don't want to say danger, I feel like it's the wrong word, but don't not keep yourself safe, and don't not go and get tested because you're worried about going out or going to the clinic or to the hospital. Like, please use these free resources that are online and get it sent to you. So with STIs, I read online, I don't know if you've read the same, when you should probably get tested every 6 months. That's right, isn't it? Every 6 months. And with everything aside from HIV and syphilis, I believe, you've got to wait 2 weeks.
It's a 2-week barrier after
unprotected sex with somebody. And then for HIV, it's 7 weeks that you have to wait for getting tested. And this was something that I actually found out about maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. But I had no idea that HIV you had to wait even longer for, which I think is so bad that I didn't get taught that at school, because say you're going into a relationship. So I feel personally, if you're going to go into a new relationship, both of you should get tested for everything before, like, having unprotected sex, obviously, right? You shouldn't, like, get together, have unprotected sex, and then be like, oh, we've not both been tested, maybe we should go and get tested now. And then you're like, oh, crap.
And
now we've got something. Right? So, like, the safe thing to do would be to have a conversation with your partner or the person that you're having a situationship with, and to say, I want to be safe, set your boundaries, and say, I really feel, for me, the right thing is for us to be tested, because I want to enjoy the sex that we're gonna have. So I feel like we should do this, and go and get tested, maybe deliver them kits in, go online, order them together, or whatever.
Definitely do it together, because it can be still a nerve-wracking experience for both parties, or all parties, you know. So it's almost, you know, it could be a nice bonding experience to share that together, because it takes the weight off. You're not doing it alone, and then it's almost exciting as well, you know. If you're looking forward to sleeping with this person, people, you know, you're going to be anxiously waiting at the door for your package, waiting for the text to come through, and it's fun, you know. The build up will be so worth it, and the payoff will be a lot better, because you'll both feel a lot more comfortable, you'll both feel safe. And actually, again, like I said, the more comfortability you have, the more closeness that you have with this person, the better the sex is going to be. And something that I say to a lot of people who I've had conversations with about STDs, and it took me a very long time to be able to pluck up the courage and the strength to be able to have the conversation with partners that I've slept with before, to ask them about, you know, what stage are they at, have they been tested recently, especially because I have something, you know, I'll openly say now I'm comfortable to do that. I have HPV currently. I've had it for a year. There's no sort of like set time of when it goes. There's no cure either for it. There's topical treatment, because you can get warts from it as well, and they're not like Nanny McPhee warts with a fucking hair out of it, you know. It's not terrifying. They're almost like tiny little bumps on your skin, and they can be quite uncomfortable after the treatment, but that's just because of the topical treatment. It's the only option for it.
So can you just go into, if you feel comfortable, when you say was it topical?
Yeah, so it's a topical treatment.
So what is that? Could you explain to the listeners?
It's a cream, so like an ointment, or it's almost like an acid cream. So it basically, essentially, on a low grade, burns a layer of the skin away to remove the wart itself, because a wart, you can't, it's not like a spot, it's more got a deeper root into it. So it's a bit of a longer process to get rid of it, and you know, they can appear, again, this is something that I didn't know. It's not protected. You're not protected with a condom with HPV.
You're not.
You are, in the sense of if there are no warts, but if there are warts that are presenting, it can be skin to skin contact, immediate. And that's how you can get them. Whereas if you don't have any warts and then you have sex with someone who has HPV with a condom, you're fine. But it's because that's why there's a topical treatment. It's the only treatment now for it as well. You can get tested for it as a woman, so you can go in and have a smear. But for men, there is still no way of testing for it. So the only way that you would know is if, you know, you've had unprotected sex with someone who you definitely know has HPV, or if you've now got warts presenting, you slept with someone who had warts and you couldn't get the, you know, correct protection from that. So for me, when I found out, I was absolutely terrified, mortified even. I was, you know, I was very, very, I don't know, overwhelmed with the idea of it, and I was then still learning about it while I had it on myself, and dealing with, you know, the before and aftermath of how I got it, and didn't know how I was going to get rid of it. I've definitely relaxed into it more, but it made me feel, to be honest, in all honesty, it made me feel so undesirable. I have my own personal trauma related to my body and sexual diseases and things like that, but I felt so unlike myself, and I've always had a good amount of self-confidence, don't get me wrong, we all have our moments. I have, you know, certain times with my self-esteem where it is lower than usual, but I've always felt pretty comfortable in my skin, especially when it came to sex. I was always very sexually confident person, because as soon as I'm comfortable with you like that, as soon as I'm naked in front of you, we're good to go.
Yeah.
I could do anything.
Literally.
But, you know, at that point, even when I was completely naked in front of a person or I wanted to put nice clothes on, I almost felt like I couldn't, because I knew that this was underneath. And I didn't want to make an effort. All I did was lounge around in slonges and joggers and stuff all day because I didn't feel myself. And there wasn't enough education out there. The people that I spoke to about it didn't really know a lot about it anyway. And I sort of had to navigate this on my own, which I don't want other people to feel. And again, like I say, I'm not a healthcare professional, but because I've dealt with this, had it myself, spoken to other people who have had it also, I want people to know that we are here to be an open ear and someone who you can talk to about it. Someone who can validate your feelings. You know, you can say one thing and I'm like, yep, feel that, got it. You know, and that's all that is needed sometimes. Sometimes that is just enough.
Yeah.
To have that support.
So one thing I'd like to delve into, now you've opened up about that, as your friend, I've definitely seen you, like you said, ease into your situation now, and the way your sort of sex life has had to kind of change for this,
a lot.
right?
Changed
but
completely.
You are dating someone, right?
I am.
Yeah, and the reason I want to touch on this is because you are dating someone, and I think from when I've spoken to you, or I've spoken to other friends of mine that have caught an STI, there's that fear, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, there's this fear that you're never going to meet anyone again, you're not going to find anyone, how could I communicate this to someone, they're not going to want to be with me. But all of my friends have all dated ever since, and they've openly communicated to their partner what they've got, they've educated their partner, and they're living an absolutely normal life.
Absolutely.
Please go into this. Please go into this, because I think it's so important.
It is, and it was actually I think the one thing that I was the most terrified about is, you know, I mean, it's strange. I had sexual partners before, who, yes, I had the conversation with because it's an absolute must for me. I think it's a must in general, but obviously not everyone can get to that point, and that's absolutely fine. You have to take your time. And what I found my anxiety was, especially where I was feeling so undesirable, that someone was just going to think I was disgusting, that I was dirty, that they were going to judge me, that they were going to have some sort of adverse reaction. You know, they were going to like jump up off the table and be like, "What? You've got this? What? I'm not sleeping. I don't want to do that," sort of thing. So it put me off for a long time, because I was like, well, I can't deal with that. I don't want to deal with that sort of reaction.
Rejected.
No, and the thing is, this even rejection in the sense of like, if they said, "Oh, I'm not attracted to you," that would be a lot less painful for me, because I'd be like, fair, that's absolutely fine. We all have our own attractions. You know, there are things that I'm attracted to that some people might not be, and that's absolutely fine. But it was more about them thinking that I was some disgusting person, which is not the truth, and I know that that's not the truth, but for some reason that was a limitation for me, and I was scared. And the reactions that I've had, I've just been completely dead honest, been very calm about it, and the way that I navigated it, especially with, again, like I say, with someone with extremely high functioning anxieties, the worries, the little mosquitoes.
Little monkey boy.
Yeah. I'll have you later. But you know, I would get such a physical reaction. I'd be so nervous, my legs would be going, my heart would be beating. I'd be like, I am going to have an aneurysm in the next 35 seconds. Oh, just leave me dead on the ground. But my reaction, or my reaction that I have had from other people has been lovely, actually.
That's amazing.
And from the gentleman that I'm dating at the moment was actually the best reaction I had. Because not only was, you know, with other people where I've spoken to them about it before, yes, they were accepting, but it was more, right, yep, cool, let's go, amazing. Whereas where I went through actually what had happened and how it happened, and because that's, for me, that's how I wanted to tell that story and share that, because it's more deep-rooted than me just catching something. There's more of an emotional, traumatic attachment to that. So I feel for me it's important to share that with my partner, and
the desired one.
The chosen one.
The man, the legend, the myth.
But yeah, he was very amazing about it.
So what was,
and he was not just accepting of me, and didn't just keep continuing to make me feel desired and attractive, but he was emotional about it. He didn't just sort of go, yeah, that's fine, let's crack on and have sex.
Yeah.
He stopped, he came off of me. The sexual moment stopped, and it became an emotional one. He came up, he kissed me, he hugged me, he said sorry. He actually tapped into how I was feeling. He could see how I was feeling. He felt my energy in that moment, and that's what's important, because the acceptance of it immediately makes you just relax.
Yeah.
And I can tell, especially where I had, you know, some sexual partners beforehand, I'm such a physical reactive person. When I was telling the partners beforehand, my legs would shake, and that's just a trauma response for me, especially if it's something to do with sex. Now it's a new thing that I've had to navigate, but my legs would do this sort of like bouncing thing, and I wouldn't be able to stop it. But with the gentleman that I'm dating right now, there was no leg shaking. I mean, not at that moment anyway.
I knew you were going to say that. But that is how it should be, and I bet in that moment I can only imagine, because I'm going to say everybody, and I think I'm right in saying all we want is someone that makes us feel seen, heard, and we feel like we can just communicate and they get it, right? And they're without judgment.
Absolutely.
And if they don't get something, then they ask more questions.
Absolutely.
Okay? And it seems like that's what he did for you, and I bet in that moment you really realised, yeah, that's the kind of response, and that's actually the kind of mind I want in someone.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that, actually. Throughout those experiences and finding the courage to actually break that barrier of me finally telling someone about it and being brave enough to be in that situation, feeling ready enough to share that with a person again, I just said to myself, it was more, you know, obviously everyone is free to do whatever they like and choose. But for me, in that moment, I just thought, why would I want to sleep with someone who had some sort of adverse reaction? You know, I know that if I'm sharing that with someone, which is very sacred to me, it's very special for me to want to share that with a person, especially now. You know, I was a lot more blasé about it when I was younger. I didn't consider my options as one should a little bit more. Personally anyway, but I don't know, I just think I don't want to share that with a person unless they are understanding, if they can be mature about it and have that conversation with me, they want to ask questions and be sensitive about it. And I, again, like we said, this could be a platform for people who are struggling with certain things and wanting to say, but it could also be a platform for partners who want to ask more questions about their partner,
but they don't know how to.
But they don't know how to go about it. Like, we could also be a helping hand for that if you want to ask your partner about it. If they've told you that they've got something and you need more information, but you're still feeling nervous or you don't know how to do it, we could be that helping hand to give you the language and the right communicational skills to get there. Because at the end of the day, for any sort of relationship, whether it's sexual, physical, communication is the key. Always.
100%. And just throughout life, isn't it? And there are so many contraceptive options now, and protective options. There's just options. And I remember going to the clinic and talking to the lady who was there about STIs, and I remember I specifically asked her questions about herpes, because I was doing some research myself, and like having a little read, and I was like, oh god, this seems so scary. So when I went in, I was just like asking her loads of questions, and she just said, look, STIs are common. Doesn't mean you should go out and not be safe at all. Always be safe. But like, people have STIs and there are options to get rid of things, or there are certain tablets or creams or whatever to make things better or more bearable, right? So she was like, it's okay, and a lot more people have them than you think, so you aren't alone. That's what she was trying to get at, because I think there's this thing that you do feel like you're alone. Obviously I've not had an STI, so I can't comment, but I've definitely worried about it in my lifetime so far, and I've always thought, oh my god, I'd feel so alone. But as I've got older, I've met more and more friends that have STIs, like I said, living normal lives like yourselves, and you think, I couldn't live a normal life, but of course you can. Do you know what I mean? Of course you can.
Though. It's very normal to have that as your first thought, because even I did. I had that thought. I was like, well, how in hell? Like, well, I'm just going to not have sex for 3 years, 5 years, however long it takes. Then I go down the rabbit hole of the internet, and I'm seeing people who have had it for longer or lesser. Or, but the thing is, I've also known people who have caught the same virus as myself and cleared up in 3 months. Sometimes it can just be that in and out. It depends on your immune system as well, because it's an immune system's job to get rid of it, I suppose, in that sense, because it's a viral rather than a bacterial. So it's subjective to each person, and don't do what I did and go down the rabbit hole and look at everyone's experiences, because not everyone's experiences are going to be the same as yours. And
don't look on all these websites online too much, because
WikiHow.
Because it will tell you it's the end, and it isn't.
You have HPV and you're dying.
It's
that was
not,
my moment.
Exactly. And I think one thing I really just want to reiterate is that please don't be afraid to ask the guy that you're with to wear a condom. Don't be scared to ask that. Don't be scared to ask anything that feels right to you, to set your safety, set them boundaries.
Absolutely.
Because that's what matters. It matters about you being safe. There's no point, and I know you'll agree, in having intimate time with someone and then walking away and worrying for weeks and weeks that something that you would have, like, you've caught something or something's going to happen. Like, it's meant to be an enjoyable time. And if you ask someone to wear a condom, or even if a guy goes to put on condom and the girl's like, no, I don't want you to wear that, because it works always, right? Always round.
100% does.
do not then sleep with that person.
No.
Please.
No.
Girl, boy, don't do
They
it.
don't deserve you at that moment. If they are disrespecting your boundaries and disrespecting you as a person, walk the hell away.
Yeah, and have that empowerment to do that. Do not feel pressured to have sex with someone when you don't feel 100% about it.
In any way.
No, because there are how many people on the planet? How many people?
Too bloody many.
And there will be another penguin for you. Okay? Like, set your boundaries. Understand that your safety is so important. And if you meet someone new, talk about getting tested. It's just so important, and it isn't silly, it isn't stupid, it isn't embarrassing, it's normal. It is so normal.
Feel so empowered by
and
well,
you'll just feel relaxed.
And the thing is, your sexual experiences will be so much better. Like we keep saying, you know, like the more comfortable you are, the more safe that you are, you're not going to have these worries. You're not going to be walking, you know, down the street worrying that you've caught something, because you know that you've gone through all the processes to be safe. You can just look back on that memory fondly, as you should and as you deserve to.
100%. And we're going to I think I'm going to round this up now.
Sure.
But we said that we were going to do different parts, weren't we, to sexual health. So we were saying earlier, please send us any questions, like we've said before, but do send us questions if you want us to answer anything, just anything in the next episode to do with sexual health.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go away and have a little think as well about maybe what we've spoke about today and how we can elaborate on that.
Absolutely. I'd love to, you know, hear any sort of questions and queries that you guys might have. And as we say, no question or query is going to sound too silly or too strange.
Never.
I can assure you I have heard strange. And I can assure you I have done strange.
Oh, mate. But yeah, it's been lovely having you here.
It's been very
lovely. It's nice, isn't it? It's a bit snug in this little van.
Isn't it nice? I love it. Thank you very much for having me.
That's okay.
I'm honoured.
No, I've loved it, and we both really want to make a difference, don't we?
Yes.
Like we've said so many times, we just want people to use this space to make them realise they aren't alone, and we're open ears for anything. And it isn't all about sexual health. I'm going to cover so many other topics, so just make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow LittlestHoboYaz on Instagram, and your Instagram, Freya,
is the Tobacco Fairy.
So please hit us up on all social media platforms. TikTok is also LittlestHoboYaz, YouTube is everything's LittlestHoboYaz, alright? So just go there, and we'll be having more chats in my pink and green fluffy van very soon, I guess.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the next one.
I love you, mate. Cheers.
I love you too.
And we've got broccolis. If you're not watching the video of this, we've got broccolis. Lots of broccoli teddies. So many. There are mascots for the Taboo Topics.
Size queens. All sizes are welcome.
So make sure you hit us up, send us a message, and cheers for listening.
Thank you very much.
See you later.